Dear friends, as most of you must be knowing that the farmers of the country are protesting against the union government in and around Delhi since about a month now, and the farmers are protesting against the three new farm bills that have been implemented by the government in the month of September this year. So there is a lot of hue and cry in the media, and these protests have generated a lot of buzz, not only nationally but internationally as well, because most of the international media houses are also covering it. But if you check any news channels, or if you check on social media, I see a lot of lies and lot of misconceptions and a lot of hate being spread against the protesting farmers. And it appears from, if you check the comments of the people and the posts of the people on social media, and if you tune into most of the news channels, they would be like, you can feel that a different kind of agenda or a different kind of narrative is being propagated against these protesters. And it appears from this propaganda that the people still do not know much about these bills. What are these bills, and what is government is trying to achieve out of these bills, and and what are the concerns of the farmers, and what do they want now. So my purpose of making this video is to explain you a little bit about the bills, and what are the benefits and things the government is saying that these bills will bring in for the farmers, and what are the concerns of the farmers. So these are basically three bills, and the first one is Farmers Produce Trade and Commerce Bill. Another one is Farmers Agreement on Price Assurances and Farm Services Act, and the third one is Essential Commodities Amendment Act. And and as per the governments, the benefits include, like, now the Indian agricultural market is open to all. Like, the farmers can sell their produce anywhere in the country, from any state to any other state. They can take their produce and sell it there, or they can sell it online, or whatever. Another very important aspect that the government is saying that these bills will do is to remove the middlemen, or the artiyas, or the vicholias from in between the farmers and the traders who are buying the produce from the or the consumers, or the traders who are buying the produce from the farmers. The government is also saying that these bills will this will encourage farmers to to go on to internet platforms or online platforms to sell their produce and e-retail their produce to various parts of the country, and all. And another important thing that the government is saying that these bills will do is that this will bring in more buyers, more traders for the farmers, as the market becomes open, and any buyer or trader having a PAN card or an Aadhaar card can go to the farmers and purchase their crop from them. And this will give a great bargaining power to the farmers, and if they think that they are getting better prices for their produce from the private players as compared to the APMC mandis or the government mandis that are there in their area, so it will help them to achieve more price for their produce, basically. So these are the basic benefits that the government is telling about, that these bills will be beneficial for the entire farming community, raise their earnings a great deal. So these are the three things, basically. So now I would throw some light on what are the concerns of the farmers, whether these bills will be able to meet the expectations of the government or not, or practically how effective are these bills to to achieve the targets being set by the government. So the first thing, the open market thing, and when the government is saying that the bills will help in the creation of an open market and bring in more private players to the field, and more buyers for the produce of the farmers. So it is kind of confusing, because the market is kind of already open. If the market is not open, then how come the crops or the yield of wheat and rice or maize and some pulses like and fruits like orange are being sold in different parts of the country by the farmers themselves? For example, apple from Kashmir is being sold in the entire country. Similarly, oranges and bananas from Maharashtra and oranges from Punjab are being sold in the entire country, and wheat and rice from UP and Bihar and Madhya Pradesh is being sold in Punjab and Haryana mandis as well. So the government's idea of the creation of an open market, I mean, this is kind of confusing for the farmers. I mean, they are saying that the market is already open. I mean, there is no such restriction as such, and so anybody can sell it anywhere. So this is one thing about the open market. The second thing is, when you say, or when the government says that the market will become open and the farmers will be able to sell their produce anywhere in the country. 80% of more than 80% of the farmers are marginal farmers having small pieces of land and all, and so it is practically almost impossible for a farmer to take his or her produce to any other part of the country, let alone part of the country. I would say, I mean, it is very difficult to even transport your produce to any other mandi apart from your own mandi that is closer to your village or to your city. And if you have to take your produce to another market, to any other mandi, maybe around 30-40 kilometers or even 50 kilometers away, so this will be a huge transport cost. And you can very easily imagine, I mean, the farmers having 2 acres or 3 acres of land, they won't be able to do it on their own. So I don't think even the experts and economists and agricultural experts and people from various universities and the like are also saying the same thing, that don't know how the government is saying that a farmer maybe from Punjab can sell his or her produce in any other part of the country, I mean, far away from his place. What about the transportation? What about the storage cost? What about the somebody will have to go along with the produce to sell it. So who will look after his or her crops back home and take care of the family back home, and those kind of issues? I mean, you can think of a lot many things when it comes to this. So government saying that farmer can sell it, I mean, we are farmers, we know that this is next to impossible. A small farmers will never be able to do it. So what this will do is, basically, small traders or other traders, or even small corporates, big corporates will come. They will buy the produce on maybe cheaper prices, and then they will be able to sell it in different parts of the country because they have the means to do so. But the farmers don't have the means to do so. So again, this will be beneficial only for the traders. And this basically is happening already because in Bihar, the APMC Act was repealed in early 2000. So there the market is open, and there the idea was the same, like to bring in more private players into the market. So but what is happening is, like, when the APMC was removed or repealed, and the farmers are now on the mercy of the private players only, because when the produce didn't come to APMCs and all, and so their maintenance and all those things were gone. There were no tax collection on the mandis and all, so the maintenance and everything was completely gone for the mandis. And slowly the governments also the governments basically pulled their hand out of the mandis and all. So now the farmers are at the mercy of the private players, and the private players are buying the produce from the farmers at around, like, if for example the price of the wheat is 1900 rupees per quintal, then they are buying it for maybe 1000 rupees or 1200 rupees, and then they are selling it in the markets of Haryana and Punjab, wherein MSPs are fixed, and the governments are giving MSP for the food grains, so they are selling it for the MSP in Punjab and Haryana, gaining a lot, but the farmers are suffering. They are not getting even the MSP for their produce, so it is kind of a double whammy for them. And similar is the case with the UP as well. In UP, I mean, even though MSP is fixed and there is the APMC mandis are there, but the mandis are maybe far away from the farmers and all. So and the government has limited, I mean, how much amount of food grains they will be buying from UP. So for example, if they decide to buy like 50% of the food grains produced in UP, then the rest of 50% of the food grains will be bought by the private players. Again, the farmers will be on the mercy of the private players in UP as well. So that is why huge loads of rice and wheat even from UP are coming to Punjab and Haryana during the seasons to be sold by these private players. So farmers are not getting anything out of it. In fact, they are forced to sell their produce at lower prices, and then the traders who are buying it from them, they are minting for huge sums of money out of those that produce by selling it in other states. So when it comes to open market or private players coming to the market, so similar is the case with like apart from wheat and rice in Punjab and Haryana, the crops like cotton, sugarcane, and potatoes, and any other vegetables are just like an open market only. And mostly the private players are buying that produce from the farmers. So this practice is already there, and for these crops, very few times the farmers get a good price for their crop. Even though the MSP for cotton and sugarcane is fixed, but still the MSP is not being given by these private players already. So how do you expect, if the MSP is in force through the APMCs and all in certain states, even for wheat and rice for that matter, for various other states apart from Punjab and Haryana, wherein the system is very strong, the unions are strong, and the mandi system is not only best in the country, but kind of best in the world, because we have mandis maybe only at around every 4 or 5 kilometers. I can see, I mean, practically in Punjab, every 4 or 5 kilometers mandis are there. So the mandi system is very much regulated. Every licensed authority and everything is there. The middlemen are licensed, and the traders are licensed, and FCI is collecting huge stock from during the seasons of wheat and rice. So mandis are regulated, so that's why the MSP is, government can't run away from paying the MSP for, especially for wheat and rice in Punjab and Haryana. What about the rest of the states? The wheat and rice MSP is fixed over there as well. So if you can't even implement or mandatorily provide the MSP for the crops for the crops under the APMCs to the farmers, then how do you expect that you would be, without writing, without giving it in writing as well, that MSP under these new bills, how do you expect that the private players will be giving like buying the produce from the farmers at MSP? This is completely ridiculous. I can't understand this. So if so the government is talking about propping a parallel private market to the APMCs. Let me tell you one thing, like this is not a hidden fact anymore, because the finance minister has talked about it, Niti Aayog has talked about it, that the government is actually trying to, thinking about getting rid of the APMC mandis, or simply running away from their responsibility for buying the buying the crops basically, and they want to get their hand out of this entire agricultural thing and all. They want to give it to the private players and all. So this is in the news as well. I mean, if you can back search a little bit regarding it, the finance minister has openly talked about it, Niti Aayog has talked about it, and various committees that has been set up by the government to look into the entire structure of the agricultural system of the country, and how the food stuff is procured from the food grains are procured from the farmers and all. So those committees basically has derived this particular thing out of their studies and analysis and all, that the FCI, Food Corporation of India, which is the whole which is an agency that buys the crop through the APMCs from the farmer. So these committees have derived that FCI is a corrupt elephant. So the government must get rid of this elephant, instead bring in corporates and private players to directly buy the produce from the farmers, so that the government don't have to make arrangements for the have to spend a lot of sum of money on the mandis and all, and the procurement process, and then storage of the food grains and all. And now you can very easily imagine if that is the thought process of the government, to get rid of the mandis and all. So what they are trying to do is they are propping up a private market parallel to the existing APMC mandis, and then once maybe initially the private players will be in the private market, according to this new bill, there will be no taxes. There will be no taxes for the traders and all. So this maybe 7.5% is the tax generally if you buy it through APMC, but now under this rule the traders won't have to pay that 7.5% or 8.5, something like that is there. They won't be paying that to the government. So that is profit for the private players. So that 7.5% or 8.5%. So what they would do is, maybe out of that 7.5% they would give maybe 2 or 3% out of it to the farmers to buy their crop on higher prices initially for 2 to 3 years, and then farmers will be more than happy to go to them to sell their produce. It is a given, because they are getting a better price for their produce, so they will be selling it there. And within 2-3 years, if no crop will be going to the APMC mandis, which the government will be running, that is actually the plan of the government. So within 2-3 years, nobody will be selling their crop there, because they are getting a higher price in the private market. So then they will say, okay, and all these licensed middlemen and service providers and everybody that is there attached to the APMC mandis, they will say no produce is coming over there here, so the farmers are selling it outside, so let's wrap it up and let's go. I mean, let's do something else. So once they will be gone, the government will be having a clear path ahead of them, that now is the time. We'll tell the farmers that okay, you are getting good prices for their crops and stuff, so there is no need for APMCs anymore. So they will wrap up the APMC mandis, and then the situation, the whole game will turn around its head basically. So once the monopoly, once the competition is gone, like APMCs are gone, private players will have the monopoly in the market. So then they will, the farmers will be at their mercy. Then they will say to the farmers, okay, we are paying, earlier they were paying maybe 1900 for a quintal of wheat. Now they will be saying like, we'll give only 1500 because your quality is not good and stuff like that, and those kind of things they can play around. And so we'll be paying only 1500. If you want to sell, you sell, otherwise you take it somewhere else. So then the farmers won't be having any choice. This is exactly what happened in Bihar as well. So very, very similar situation. So this is the main concern of the farmers, that initially when it was being said that why the MSP, if you bring in the private players, make MSP mandatory for them to follow, and anybody not buying the produce on MSP should be prosecuted as per criminal law and all that. And there is no provision as such. I mean, there is no mention of, the government is saying verbally that the mandis will stay and the MSP will stay, but there is no, written mention of MSP or the mandis staying as it is in the bills. And this open market thing, if you research a little bit, Google a little bit in the Western countries like in USA and in Europe, this open market thing and bringing in of private players to the market is a failed concept. Every year the governments of these Western countries has to provide billions and billions of dollars in subsidy to the farming sector. And with the coming in of the private players, like in USA, I was reading somewhere, maybe around 80% of the cultivated land, it belongs to the corporates only. The farmers have given it up. What about India? Once these farmers are, the input is huge in the agricultural sector, like in the cultivation of crops and all, but output is very low, and with the monopoly of the private players, the output will decrease further. So what they will be doing then? Another very important thing about this entire agricultural system of our states is the presence of the importance of the artiyas, the middlemen, or the bicholias as they are being called today. So the entire expenses for the whole year of a farmer are generally being met by the money being given by the artiyas only. So the farmers, for their expenses, whatever expenses they have, like marriages in the family, or somebody's ill, or education of the children, like higher education and all for the children and all that kind of stuff, they get this money from the artiyas only, because the banks don't give the farmers loans, and RTS do give them this money, and then they recover this money when the produce comes, basically. So like farmers under debts of the RTS or loans or high interest rates and stuff like that is a totally a separate topic. But the first and foremost thing is, if the farmers will be in a contract with the corporate houses and big traders and all, do you think that the government thinks that the farmers can on day-to-day basis they can go to these people and get that money that they require for the delivery of a child, maybe, or a small marriage function or something like that? Do you think that they will be able to get that money from these people? I don't think so. Practically it is impossible. So this is again the removal of the middlemen and bicholiarthi. Yes, we need reforms to to regulate and regularize, and to maybe make this system more efficient and farmer friendly, because the middlemen do exploit the farmers. Yes, it happens, but again, that's a separate topic. We can discuss this some other day. But instead of making this system more robust and more accountable, making the middlemen and RTs more accountable and stuff, the government is simply saying to remove them. So it will be again a tough situation for the farmers if these people will be gone, and this will mushroom more vultures in the market, like loan giving agencies and all that, so who will again exploit the farmers a great deal. Another important thing is, like, the government is saying anybody having a PAN card and an Aadhaar card can go to a farmer and buy produce from him or her. So this is again a very ridiculous thing to think about. For example, now, as per all the traders and the people buying produce from the farmers through the APMCs, like not only the crops like wheat and rice, but other crops like cotton, potatoes, and those kind of things, they are licensed, regulated, they are in the system of the government, and the government has some control on them. And if some issue occurs or something happens, the farmers know whom to approach and the stuff like that. But when it comes to this private market, if government is saying anybody having a PAN card and an Aadhaar card can go to a farmer and buy the produce. So if, for example, a trader comes and he says that he will be buying the entire maybe wheat crop of an entire village, or maybe 5-10 farmers, and then he buys the produce and takes it away, either he disappears or he simply refuses to pay the money, or he is just saying that I will pay in a month or 2 months and like that. So then in that case, I mean, farmers will be in a very difficult situation in that case. So they won't be able to, these are not licensed people or anybody, and there will be a lot of vultures, lurking around the people to, exploit them and to do all kind of things that they can do. So this is again it will be a highly unregulated market, so which is again a very very unique kind of situation, or a highly uncertain situation to be in as a farmer. Legal framework regarding these: if there is an issue between the farmer and the buyer, private player or corporate or contractor or whatever, so the bill says that the farmer can approach the SDM, or he will set a reconciliation committee or something, or at max the DC. There is no provision of any legal proceeding in that case that the farmer can initiate against these traders and all. There is no provision for that in this new bill. So it is not, in a country like India, it is not very hard to imagine that in whose pocket the SDM or the DC can go easily. This is a farmer having maybe 2 or 3 acres of land versus a corporate having a maybe $1 billion empire. So it is not hard to imagine in whose favor, or who can buy favors from this SDM or from a DC or something. It is not hard to understand that. So this is again a huge concern, that these people can't be prosecuted as per the regular laws of the land and all. Instead, it will be now the government is saying that it is for the easy redressal of the grievances that can crop up, between the farmers and the contractors. But at the same time, what if the SDM or the DC ruled in favor of the corporate? Then where will the farmer go? So again, making it an open market and the farmers can take their produce anywhere, it is practically impossible. I, being a farmer, can tell you this, that farmers can't do that. It is very hard to even take your produce to maybe 40-50 kilometers. And in a state like Punjab especially, we have tractors. All the farmers have tractors and trolleys, their own transport to transport the produce. Even then it is not viable, and it is not profitable for them to do it. But think about the states wherein agriculture is still being done with the oxen and very crude form of agriculture are still prevalent in various states in the country. So can you imagine, a farmer taking his produce on a bullock cart to a city maybe 200 kilometers away? It is impossible. And then e-retail or online trading of your crops and produce, this government is saying this will encourage that. Imagine, again, more than 80% of the farmers are small, and most of them are illiterate, and they don't know how to use the online platforms and all that. Again, they will be susceptible to exploitation by these new middlemen cropping up in between them and the buyers and the corporates. So they will be again, if you're saying that you will remove these middlemen, then there will be new middlemen who will come to the villages and buy produce in bulk from the farmers at lower prices, and then they will be having the means to sell it to the corporates to take it to the next level. So again, this is highly unlikely that this is going to this will help e-retail of your produce and all. I know some farmers can do it, some educated ones can do it, maybe a few of them, and the farmers having large pieces of land, they can do it. But again, 80% of the farmers are small farmers, and they are not that much educated to sell their produce online, or find various channels online to sell their produce and stuff. Now the bill 2. With the help of bill 2, the government is saying that they will be facilitating and encouraging contract farming by providing legal framework, and it will be, again, this will also help in the removal of the middleman, and there will be a direct contract between the farmer and the buyer, basically. So this is what the government is saying. So the legal framework I have already talked about. The contracts will be written between big corporates or small corporates and the farmers. And now imagine, will it be equal? Practically, is it possible? Do you think that it will be an equal contract between a farmer who owns a 2 acres of land or 3 acres of land and a corporate who is $1 billion company maybe, or $1 million company, say? I don't think so. It can never be an equal level playing field for both the parties. The bills or the contracts will always be, you know, in the favor of the corporates rather than the farmers. So this is again a very ridiculous thing that is being proposed by the government. And then the legal framework, if there is a dispute in the contract and the farmer is saying that the corporate is not paying, he can again go only to an SDM or a DC only, and it is not hard to imagine, I mean, in whose pocket the SDM or the DC will be. Marginal farmers will not be in a position to bargain with the big corporate houses. The government is saying that no, the corporates will not be allowed to to recover their money and all. For example, there is a contract between the farmer and the corporate, but due to any natural calamity or something like that, the produce is not there, the crop is spoiled or something like that, or the output is not up to the mark. So the corporate will be asking back the money from the farmer, but the farmer has already spent it because he needs to cater to all the expenses of their family throughout the year. So they have already spent it. So now in that case, again the dispute will go to SDM and all that, the legal framework that is provided, and it is again it is not very helpful for the farmers, the framework. And now when he or she will not be able to return back the money, the question arises to his piece of land. Now the third bill, Essential Commodities Amendment Act. This is basically like all the essential commodities like food stuff and medicines and all those that are essentials used to come under this act, Essential Commodities Act. As per that act, nobody can stock or hold or food stuff or other essential commodities in the market so that their prices can rise and all. So that act was prohibiting the traders or the stockers from doing it basically. But now with this amendment, government has allowed the people to do so basically. So this bill was basically brought in to assist the bill 1, wherein a lot of private players, the government is saying a lot of private players will come in. So if the private players will come in, they will be needing to stock or store or keep the produce that they are buying from the farmers for some time or something like that. So it is basically to assist that. This is for the traders basically. Now when the protesters start, the government is saying that this bill is for the farmers as well, that they too will be able to stock the crop and all if they are not getting the right kind of price in the market as of now. So they can stock their crop, and then maybe after 2 months, 6 months, they can sell it when the prices are high. So this is very ridiculous. This is highly irresponsible again on the part of the government, because again 80% of the farmers are small marginal farmers. Do you think they have the means to stock that kind of produce in their homes or in the cold stores or something like that? Even if they are going to store in the cold stores and other third-party facilities, they'll have to shell out a lot of money for that. If they do store it but they didn't get the price later on, what will happen then? So it will be again a double whammy for them. The less price for their produce, plus the expenses that they had to they will have to incur for the storage and all that stuff, and transporting it to a third party facility or a warehouse again will be on them only. This bill was there to assist the first one and was mainly for the trader and the new middlemen that will emerge. But now the government is saying that this is for the farmers as well. This is practically impossible. This is total nonsense actually. So farmers will never ever have the means and the resources to stock and store. Secondly, the more important one is the traders storing it. When the government will not have that much of because as I said, this private market will be highly unregularized and uncertain kind of situation. So everybody will be buying, like small traders will prop up or crop up from here and there. They will be buying produce and then they will be stocking it. Even the larger corporates will be buying produce in bulk and they will be stocking it. And then once the prices go high, only then they will be bringing the produce to the market. So this will impact not only the farmers still will be okay with it maybe, because when we produce wheat or rice, we keep a good portion for ourselves and the rest we sell. But what about the people sitting in the big cities and all that? They will have to, they have to buy each and everything, like wheat flour and everything. You buy it from the market, like from Reliance Fresh or something like that. So when the corporates will be stocking it and hoarding it and for a long time, so it will again, a black market will again emerge. It will be like a manipulation of the system by the corporates basically. So this will again give rise to price rises and inflation and all that this will lead to it. So then not only the farmers, everybody will be suffering due to this particular thing basically. So again, this is about the 3 bills. So the thing that I said before as well, the farmers, we do need reforms. Yes, we have been asking for that as well. But from the reforms, we mean the Swaminathan report. If anybody knows about it, like better, it advocates better prices for the farmers, like maybe 1.5 times input basically. So we need the implementation of that Swaminathan report in the agriculture sector. That is one reform we needed. And then a regularization of artiyas and middlemen who are there, who are our lifesavers, definitely, because our livelihoods depend throughout the year depends upon them, the money coming from them. But government need to regularize it more and make the artiyas and the middlemen more accountable. And there should be, the government should work towards getting a level playing field between the artiyas and the farmers. That is what we have been asking for. The farmers never, or the unions never asked for these things that the government has brought in. So these bills are a major concern for the farmers, definitely, especially when you say that your livelihood throughout the year depends upon the produce of your agriculture only, and you don't have any other sources of income. So then it becomes extremely crucial for the farmers to fight for their rights and protest against these bills. And we believe that these bills are not in our favor. And another important thing is, like, the bills are for the farmers. Only the farmers will be able to tell you, right, that whether these bills are good or bad for you, for us or not. Who else will be telling us? So this is again a very negative propaganda that is being done in the media and all, that these bills are, people sitting in corporates and swanky offices and nice cozy restaurants and all that, talking about this thing, that these farmers are idiots. They don't know about it. So for example, I always say this, that if tomorrow the government brings some ruling or new regulations for the corporate sector, who will be telling the government that whether those new set of laws or new regulations are good for the corporate sector or not? The farmers? Maybe the doctors? The Bollywood? Who? You guys know, the corporates, right? Only the corporates will be in a better position to tell you, right? To tell the government that these are not good for us. Similarly, use your head, please. Similarly, whether these farm bills are good for us or not, only we can tell you, right? So this is completely ridiculous when one hear about all this propaganda and all this media nonsense that is going on in the country right now. Please share it if you think this is helpful, and this can help a little bit in generating some kind of knowledge and some kind of awareness about these bills. So please do share it